Next tip, fishing squallows. This water's cold. It's probably somewhere around 43, 44 degrees. It's nice out. As much as I would like the fish to act like it's summertime, it's not. It's still cold. So we've got to change our fishing strategy a little bit. Just because we're using a big fly doesn't mean we can slap it in there and move it all over the place and the fish will tackle it. These fish are going to make a very slow, methodical rise to this fly most of the time. I'm going to give you a tip, and we're just going to call this sticking the landing. When you fish Skwala stoneflies, you're going to look for walking speed water, softer seams most of the time. And what we want to do, the caster needs to stick that landing so that when we throw the fly out there, the fish is, if it sees the fly hit and the fly hits in a manner that looks like a stonefly dive bombing the water to lay eggs, if your fly hits like that, you're much more likely to catch fish. You're going to be fishing a lot of open pools. The fish is going to see everything that happens on the surface. I'm going to teach you how to stick that landing and make that fly look real. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about stopping point of the fly rod. I'm going to step back just a little bit. And I know you won't be able to see the rod tip, but I'm going to describe this to you. We want to stop the rod tip very positively with the rod at an angle about like this. I'm going to stop that rod tip. What that's going to cause the fly to do, it's going to make the fly hit the water first. You do not want your line to unfurl and lay the fly down last. That's not going to be very attractive to the fish. The fly is going to hit. They're going to see the line hit and unfurl. What we want to do is we want to drop the fly in as though that Skwala stonefly is going to plop down in the water to lay eggs. If you've ever seen a Skwala stonefly hit the water, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like a dive bomber. They just go plop. We want our fly to do the same thing. The fish is going to hear that. It's going to see that. The other thing that allows us to do when we have that high stopping point, boy, there's squallows flying around all over the place. Wouldn't that be great? Land on my shoulder during the video. That would be cool. But I'm going to stop with that rod really high. The other thing that's going to allow me to do is now I can control where my slack goes. Generally speaking, I'm going to stop the rod tip high, and then I'm going to fade my rod tip upstream most of the time, or whatever direction I'd like that slack to lay down. So we're going to stick the landing, plop, Skwala hits down. I've got a little bit of slack built into my line so that my fly can drift naturally immediately after it hits the water and I don't have to drag it around. I want to re-emphasize this just one more time. When we stop high like this, as I lower my rod, that's the drift, okay? I generally don't have to feed a lot of line. I don't have to make a bunch of bends. Let me step back just a hair here. I'm going to stop high. I'm going to lower my rod, and that's going to be my drift so that I can stick that landing. The fly floats drag free. Immediately, you're going to catch more fish, because if that fly fishes from the second it hits the water, you're going to pick up more fish on a Skwala stonefly.